Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I really wanted to highlight a couple performances from that week 1 matchup against the Carolina Panthers because look, the Jets lost the game. It's super unfortunate, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that every single player had a horrible outing. I really feel like there were a couple bright spots here. So without further ado, let's jump in. So the first player on this list is none other than quarterback Zach Wilson, and I actually posted a video breaking down his entire performance earlier in the week. I'll leave that linked above or down below in the description box. But I thought Zach Wilson looked pretty solid given the circumstances. Was he elite? No, but I thought he went out there and he really held the team together. He was really the glue of Sunday's performance. I didn't really feel like Zach Wilson was the reason why the Jets lost. I really didn't feel like his performance was a detriment or a negative to this football team. I really thought it was, in fact, the opposite, where he was elevating everybody else. He was helping, he was the life preserver of the New York Jets offense, keeping everybody afloat. I mean, you take a look at the numbers, he was 20 of 37, which equates to a 54.1 completion percentage, 258 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Yeah, the numbers aren't really spectacular, but again, given the circumstances, understanding that it was his first NFL start on the road against a young, hungry Carolina Panthers defense, first-time coaching staff in Robert Saleh, Mike LaFleur, and Ulbrich, the offensive line protection wasn't really there, constantly in 3rd and 2nd and longs because we couldn't establish the run. He was running for his life. I get that it sounds like a lot of excuses, but at the end of the day, those are the facts. And I felt like, looking at everything as objectively as possible, I felt like Zach Wilson put out a rock-solid performance. And I didn't even talk about his toughness, his grit, his perseverance that he showed throughout the course of Sunday's game. Next up is wide receiver Corey Davis. You take a look at the numbers alone, 5 catches, 97 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was truly the only wide receiver that really put fear into the Panthers defense. He went out and executed, and you can really tell the chemistry between Davis and Wilson is there. I mean, we saw it throughout the course of preseason, throughout the course of training camp, but really to see it blossom in the regular season, week 1, albeit, was a really, really encouraging sight. You take a look at Corey Davis coming out of Western Michigan. This guy had all of the tools. He had the size, he had the speed, he had the hands, he had the vert. I mean, Davis was compared to Terrell Owens for a reason. The guy had it all. Unfortunately, back in Tennessee, Davis never really lived up to the hype of being that top 5 draft pick. That's not to say he was a bad player. I mean, he was still productive, but I always felt like consistency was the issue with Davis. He was never really the vocal point of the offense. He was never really the wide receiver. They always had a ton of weapons, whether it was Derrick Henry or Jonnu Smith or A.J. Brown. It just never really seemed like the offense was driven by Davis. He's always just kind of the Robin to the Batman, the sidekick. But in New York, he's really stepping in and emerging as that number 1 wide receiver, as we saw this past Sunday. I mean, again, the numbers speak for themselves. If Davis can continue to put out performances like that against the Panthers, the New York Jets could have a serious weapon at their disposal. So the third bright spot from Sunday's performance against the Panthers was kicker, but in this case, punter Matt Amendola. Now, look, as we all know, Braden Mann goes down with an injury, a pretty serious injury. He was put on IR, and he goes down early in the game. It wasn't in the 4th quarter, it wasn't in the 3rd quarter. No, this was early in the matchup. Man goes down. The Jets are in panic mode. They put Amendola, a rookie kicker, out there, and this guy goes out and puts up an admirable performance. His average punt was 48.5 yards with a long of 66 yards. Okay, he also had 2 punts pinning Carolina back within their own 20-yard line. I felt like Matt Amendola looked like an average to an above-average punter in his first NFL game at a position that he doesn't even play. So my hat goes off to Amendola here. What a great job. What a way to step up to the plate when your number is called, when stuff is hitting the fan. Braden Mann goes down. We need you to make a play, make plays throughout the game. He went in there and did that. I felt comfortable with Matt Amendola as punter. Now, unfortunately, he didn't have any opportunities to kick because the Jets ended up going for 2, just because of the Panthers missing their extra point. It kind of threw the score all off. But I mean, as punter on Sunday, Matt Amendola, great job. The fourth bright spot is linebacker Delshawn Phillips. Phillips' performance needs to be talked about, needs to be highlighted. This guy did a great job. I mean, former undrafted free agent back in 2019, spent some time with the Falcons and the Bills. He's on the New York Jets practice squad. I felt like Phillips had a pretty solid preseason. Anyway, he's on the practice squad, and he got elevated the day of the game. The day of the game, he gets activated, and what does he do? He goes out and he leads the team in tackles. He had 12 total tackles against the Carolina Panthers offense. He was out there for 57 snaps. 57, fourth most amongst the defensive players. That's 89% of the defensive plays. Delshawn Phillips was out there and he was making an impact, 12 total tackles. The day before, he was on the practice squad. So my hat goes off to Phillips. I thought he had a great game, a great day. As far as what the future holds at the linebacker position, I got to be honest, I'm not too sure. You know, the injuries, like many other positions on this football team, are through the roof. Jarrad Davis is hurt. Jamie Sherwood got hurt. Blake Cashman got hurt. We did bring in BJ Goodson from the Browns yesterday, signing him to a one-year deal. I do assume Goodson will see a lot of playing time based off of his experience last year. Starting in 14 games, he had over 90 tackles, and the size of the contract, it was a one-year deal worth, I believe, $2.1 million. So I do think Goodson will see a lot of time, but as far as the other linebacker position is concerned, maybe it'll be Najee Dean, because Phillips was put back down to the practice squad. But when we just look at Sunday's game as a solo act here, Delshawn needs to be talked about. And the fifth and final bright spot from Sunday's performance was actually not a player. It was the adjustments that were made at halftime. Adjustments needed to be made. The Jets literally looked like the worst team in football in the first half. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't pass the ball. They couldn't block anybody. Defensively, we couldn't get after Sam Darnold, and we could not stop Christian McCaffrey. The Jets were getting wrecked in the first half. But in the second half, it was a completely different story. The Jets looked like a brand new team, a brand new squad. I mean, they stepped it up offensively and defensively. The play calling got better. The offensive line was still kind of an issue, but they opened up the quick passing attack, which was something that was non-existent in the first half. Defensively, they were flying around. They were getting a lot of stops, a lot of pass breakups as well, which was really encouraging to see. All in all, I felt like in the second half, the Jets really gave themselves a fighting chance. Look, let's be honest. If the Jets made no adjustments, if we saw the same team in the second half that was out there in the first half, I'm pretty sure we would have lost 35-0. We were horrible. But it goes to show that this coaching staff can take accountability, can look themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? We were bad. Our game plan throughout the week is not working. We need to pivot immediately. And that's what they did, and they look like a brand new team. Okay, and again, they only lost by one score. Everything was going wrong all day. So I credit the coaching staff. I do credit the halftime adjustments that were made, and it's a really, really positive sign moving forward as we transition into playing the New England Patriots this upcoming Sunday at 1 o'clock at home. It's the home opener. Shout out to all the fans that are going to be attending. It's going to be great, a great atmosphere. I really wish I was going. But anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Who were your bright spots from Sunday's performance against the Panthers? Again, we lost the game. A lot of things went wrong. There were tons of issues, tons of mistakes, but there were still some bright spots nonetheless. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.